Hi there and welcome back. Now it's time to start actually styling our site. Now, what we have is, it's kind of just a plain white website, and that's not at all what we're looking for, nor is it what our client is looking for. What we're trying to achieve is this sort of dynamic, engaging site that we have here in this image. To do that, we can start using some simple techniques. The very first file that we need to open is the variables.less. Now, you might be familiar with some of these modifiers, as they're actually the same modifiers that you'll find on the Bootstrap website under Customize. Only here we can actually play with them dynamically with our site. So it's a good practice just to start using this. The first thing that we want to do is actually change out this brand primary to this sort of purple. The brand primary is one of the colors that will be used the most throughout your site, and we're actually going to adjust even more elements of the Bootstrap CSS to reflect that. So let's pull that purple. The hex value on that is 3D3165. And as you can see, whenever we hover over that, we have that nice purple. The next place to go is down to the buttons, since this is not going to necessarily change immediately. We can see here that our buttons are importing the proper brand primary color under the primary button, and then we are importing all the rest of the proper colors throughout. The next thing that we need to do is head up. We'll find our border radius. Okay, here we go. So we have our border radius base, our large, and our small. In this case, we're using very sharp corners on almost all of our elements. So border radius is not necessarily something that I'm concerned about right now. We'll take out these radiuses down to 0, 0, 0, and we will save. And we can see that we have compiled successfully. And right now, that's all we're going to change within our variables file. Next thing, let's head back over to our browser, and we will refresh this. Let me bring it up nice and large. And we can see that through our compilation, we no longer have border radiuses, but we still have this blue color. Now that shouldn't be. Whenever we head back over into our variables file, oh, it looks like, yep, I still have that blue color somehow in our CSS. So let's take this and refresh that, and let's save that purple color right back in. We will change that, and upon compilation, of course, we get our purple button. So once we refresh, everything is the same. In fact, we've already changed most of our colors. Now the next thing that we have to deal with is we have this large background image. And that kind of steps beyond Bootstrap's natural abilities. It has nothing to do with the framework that Bootstrap offers, and that's okay. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to create an override file. We're going to go past what Bootstrap is originally designed to do. Because after all, this is a custom site. It doesn't have to just look like every other Bootstrap site. This is going to be our own. So let's do that. We have our main.css, and it has nothing in it. So let's fix that. We can use the power of less to actually compile out a new main.css, and that seems quite efficient. So let's create a main.less. And in here, I'll just create a quick test case and call this, let's see, body. Give our body background. So black background. So that should be good. And we will save that. And we auto-compile, giving us this black background. But that's not at all what we're looking for. In fact, we're going to use another background. We're going to use a full-width image. So to do that, it's actually rather simple. We can have a background image. Go over all of this with you. Paste this in. So I'm going to give a background URL. And it's going to be within our images folder under background.jpg. Moreover, we're going to use the WebKit background size modifier to cover our background. And what this does is it kind of auto-adjusts our background along with our website. So we're never without background. We always have it. And that's useful. The next thing that we're going to do is I see here in my navigation where we're actually taking up too much room and we can't see all of the slider. Now in some Bootstrap default templates you might find they actually have inline CSS styles to do this, to add padding to the top. But in this case, we're not going to. We're actually going to create our padding within our CSS file. So let's do that. Here we'll add padding top, 50 pixels. We'll see how that looks. It looks good. It looks like we're getting our full slider now. But we also have our page content to deal with. So do you remember the page content? It was the elements that wrapped our entire site. So if we inspect this, let's head over to page content. So our container page content. And as you can see here highlighted, it's everything that is wrapping our site right now. So we'll take this down and we'll add some more padding to our page content. This is the use of singling out those little areas that we want to modify. We'll add padding of 40 pixels, then maybe 15 pixels. So once we refresh, we can see that we've compiled down and we're actually even further away from the top, close to our goal padding. So that works. Alright, something I am seeing here though is we have our nav bar. Now I know that this is okay, but it's not the black nav bar that we're given in our website, and we can adjust that. The nice thing is we don't even have to adjust all of that within our main CSS. We can actually adjust that within the Bootstrap markup in the index file itself, because Bootstrap includes a dark and a light version of the navbar. Let's head back over there. Head over to the index.html file and let's find the navbar. We have our nav with the class of navbar, navbar default, navbar fixed top, and instead of the navbar default, we can just go with navbar inverse. Save that, head back and refresh, and it looks like we have our black navbar, and that is looking pretty good. But there is one thing that we're missing. We do have a little bit of transparency on our old site. Now this would be something that we can adjust outside of our main.css because it's applicable within the variables.less. Let's head back over there and take care of that. Let's expand our code editor. Once we go into the variables.less, let's find our nav bar. Right, it looks like we have our navbar right here. We have the basics, navbar links, and we're dealing with the inverted navbar. So we have our colors right here. This is a great place to start. We have the gray light, that's the perfect color that works by us. But our inverse background, this needs to actually be a little bit transparent. So in this case, we're going to actually use a less function. The function is fade out. And so that's the same thing as writing, let's see, RGBA with our brackets and then saying 000.55. This is a faded out black color that's faded out by 55%. But that's not really what we're looking for. We can write it in a way that's easier to read. So let's write fade out black 25%. Now that's pretty easy. Let's see what we end up with. So once we compiled successfully, let's head back over to our page, and we can see that our navbar has now taken on that nice faded out, a little bit transparent look that we saw from our image. There we are, nicely faded. That works for me. In our next video, we're going to continue styling out our home page and kind of the rest of the elements. We'll center align our text and make sure that our footer gets the love it deserves. Whenever you're ready, head on over to the next video to get started with that.